Hello, and welcome back to the Break Free Find Joy podcast. You're going to hear me looking around, typing on some things, because I am running on very little sleep, and I need to record this now or I'm going to get behind, and I'm very excited to be creating consistently. So the way that I'm trying to, the plan today, I am setting aside Saturday mornings to record, and I had 2 to 3 episodes that were going to be a bit shorter, but I was going to record them back to back today, so that way it gave me some leeway with the holidays coming up. And I have 2 other super exciting projects coming up that I was hoping to put out into the world soon. Well, one of them was going to be after the first of the year, but putting out my first offer here soon. However, the family, myself and the rest of my family right now are dealing with some sickness. So I'm thankful I don't feel too bad. I'm just exhausted, and that's when I typically get sick, is after I've been up with the kids and having to work all the things that a parent has to go through. And yeah, I've just kind of lost I can't even find the notes that I had, because my daughter is so smart. She's going to be 2 in January, but she can get up and climb up on the desk and stuff. We don't have it to where I can block it off yet, so I can't leave my notes out. And so I put them up, but I did it in a very, I just have to do it right now. And with my ADHD, I don't know. In theory, I would have just put them up on the top. There I have, what do you call that? I don't remember, but I have a spot for them up in a little cabinet above my desk. But that's not where they are. So, alas, I decided I'm sure that this is relatable, especially for parents. So I thought I would just record anyway and see what happens. So the reason why you hear me clicking around isn't looking for notes, because I know they're not in my computer. Well, that's not true. I do have some on my Google Drive that I could look at, actually. But I forgot what episode I was on, so I had to get on here and see where I was at. So welcome to episode 8 of the podcast. And if you've made it through that long intro, thanks for joining. I'm also really excited. I'm spending time trying to figure out how to transfer the podcast over to Spotify as well. So it looks like I'm going to be having to transfer stuff over onto Anchor as well, and then put it into Spotify. I have everything set up. I just can't find the RSS code for YouTube. I'm sure somebody could probably explain it to me, but I am not tech savvy enough to get it. It's not there. It's not made to be easy going from YouTube to Spotify, it seems. And there are a few podcast hosting ones that I can do that from and go directly to Spotify. So I'm looking into that, really excited to get that done. I'm hoping that will not only allow it to be shared, but I know for myself, even when I'm trying to listen back through things, I don't, especially since most of what I'm doing is just audio right now. I know keeping your phone open on YouTube not only uses a lot of battery, but there's no reason to have it open when it's just audio. So I'm hoping to get a bit more listens and hopefully interactions once I can move it to somewhere where it's just more accessible. I really love Spotify. That's where I listen to most of my podcasts. I, of course, go to YouTube and use that there. That's why that was one of the platforms that I chose, because eventually I do want to have the video on there. I just need to find a camera. And again, another thing, I think I bring this up probably every episode, and I'm trying not to be annoying with it and not let it be an excuse. I just also use it as a reminder that I'm not being lazy or completely procrastinating. I just get overwhelmed with choosing products. So I'm looking for a webcam that I can use to give me more clear pictures, but also still be able to use my mic. Like I said, I'm not a tech savvy person, so I know you can change things, but I've had issues in the past, and that makes it... Oh, you can hear my son in the background. Maybe, I don't know. You might not be able to hear him since I'm in the other room. Anyway, so doing that whole learning curve, I've been meaning to do that since I started. I just thought, since I'm using Soundtrap to record and edit the podcast, so I thought that I would be able to go directly to Spotify. That's on me because I didn't look, because I felt like I'm procrastinating too much when I was going to launch. So I just decided I would record and then learn as I go. I was going to share the process, and then I got just super into trying to do certain episodes and put the rest of it on back burner. So now I'm coming back and figuring out how to get it to where I can make it more accessible, which is nerve-wracking. I don't think, like, here's another thing that pops up in my brain. I love doing little workshops like this. This is things we work through in my coaching really often. And if you listen to the episode with Veronica Lamb, who's one of my coaches, she calls this putting our thoughts on trial. So I get excited to get it out there, so hopefully more people can listen and maybe reach out to more people to let them know that they're not alone if they're struggling with some of the things that I'm struggling with. I get really nervous that it will get too big too fast and people won't like it, which is contradictory. I know, like, it's not going to get big if people don't like it. But the negative side of putting yourself out there and being vulnerable to negative comments and things like that, it's not fun. I don't necessarily want to do that. But I do feel like what I'm working on could be helpful. And I also understand that I'm a beginner, so trying to be graceful with myself. And if for whatever reason people come in and they start to, I don't even know. I mean, I just feel like it would be comments of like, you don't even know what you're doing, which I have to be okay with, because in all honesty, I don't know what I'm doing. I went through coaching last year, and it came up that I really wanted to do the podcast. I have a heart to help people. I have a heart to help people, and I wanted a way that I could talk about things in a I don't know, more long format without doing blogs, because that's completely overwhelming. I like writing, but that seemed, I'm super overcritical on that too. So it takes longer to write something out, and I would just keep reading it and then probably end up just deleting it. I've done it 100 times for other things that I've worked on. So the most that I do is like some longer posts on Facebook. But even that, with being a mom of 2 young children and still working full time, I don't always just have the time or headspace to be able to do that. And a podcast was a way that, it's not that it's necessarily easier because, again, I don't know what I'm doing. But getting on and talking and then figuring out how to post the things and stuff like that later is helpful. One, being able to talk my stuff out has always been helpful. I'm super thankful for my support system with my friends and family, and being able to get coaching and therapy. Those things are all extremely important, and I found that for myself personally, speaking helps me process things really well. So part of it is, one, it's like an act of self-care for myself to do this. It helps me connect lessons that I've been working on and really put them together. And hopefully it helps someone else who might find the podcast if they're struggling or beating themselves up. They can maybe get some tools, or at least feel like, I mean, at bare minimum, I just want people to know they're not alone and that we all struggle. We're all people, especially parents. That's one of the things I'm realizing that I'll probably be focusing on more, because that's the season of life that I'm in right now, is parenting. And I struggle a ton with worrying if I'm a good mom. And while being a good mom is the most important thing to me, I also still have to balance being a good worker and a spouse. And then I throw on, like, I don't feel like I'm a good enough sister. I haven't reached out to my brothers, and man, I haven't seen my family in so long. But I'm also trying to keep up on this podcast, and I'm trying to launch a coaching thing, and really want to get into speaking. So I have all of these things, and I get myself in the place of, like, I'm not prioritizing. So I just feel like I'm getting nothing done because I'm not. I'm doing a few things all the time and not focusing on one, which is hard and not helpful. But I'm learning. I'm learning to get the things sectioned off. One of the things is continually just learning about how my brain works a bit differently and making things work for me instead of trying to force myself into a way that other people do it. It's just what works for me and how can I make it work? Like, how can I get it done? One of the things I really appreciate, I went to a church in Hawaii called Blue Water Mission. I know that I've mentioned them before. Definitely more about them in the podcast with Veronica. But they stream their services, so I'm still very lucky that even though I am in Iowa, I can watch their services. And they've been doing a series on basically trying, like, it really matters. Oh, hear the dogs in the background. So it just was a really good reminder that clarity comes from action, not from thinking. I can sit and think all day long, but I just have to start doing and learning and be comfortable with failing. I think that was one of the things that you said. It's like, you're going to fail, and that's going to be okay. Honestly, I think that might have been the place that I heard, like, fail forward for the first time. So I'm really trying to switch that mindset and just know that this is something I felt called to do. It has been fulfilling to do, even though I can get stuck on the, like, man, I don't think anybody's listening. I don't think anybody's going all the way through them. I'm reminding myself that's probably a good thing, since I'm just starting and I don't know what I'm doing, and the quality of the content isn't necessarily there. And it's okay to fail. and it's okay to leave the fails out there so people can see, which is rough. So we'll see. We're getting it. We're getting there slowly. So, yeah, that's where I'm at today. I'm tired. I'm sad. I'm working through just letting go what, that's something I can do real quick. I'm going to try to keep this one shorter too, because I know that I'm tired and it might not make the most sense. But I am holding myself accountable and keeping, what is that term? It'll come back to me. Basically, I'm trying not to self-sabotage. I made a promise to myself that I would keep up on the podcast. I have the time, and I'm utilizing that time, and I'm putting it out there regardless. Showing up is, I think that was in the sermon too. I think it was like showing up is like 80% of the work half the time. So it might seem monotonous or like it doesn't matter, but just showing up and doing the dang thing matters. You don't have to have the feeling or the willpower or motivation. Just show up and do it, and eventually, it'll start to work out. So that does remind me, I've wanted to share a resource list for a while, or at least podcasts that I found extremely. Dogs heard the mail go by. So I wanted to share just a list of podcasts that I've found really helpful, since I'm still getting my content quality up and things like that. But there might be some people who are listening and like the things that I'm talking about, but need something more depth, or some people further along than where I'm at. So I will put the names in the description. And these are ones that, again, I listen to on Spotify. Some of these, they have them on YouTube as well. I think most of them do. But so let me just get into my Spotify list so I can make sure that I'm not forgetting any of them, because they're such good ones. And if you're like me and just listening to things while you're working, that's huge for me. That's where I'm recognizing that I learn the most. And when I'm struggling with negative thought cycles that I'm really trying to break, I need to have something positive coming into my ears, kind of like last week's episode where I talked about input and output. So I've been trying really hard, if I'm struggling, to either have one of them playing that I can hear, or have one of the earbuds in so I can still listen for the kids. And it just helps shift the atmosphere and my thought processes to focus on things that are more positive, or things that I can change versus things that I have no power over. So if you're looking for a really good parenting one, I highly suggest the Good Inside with Dr. Becky podcast. She is incredible. You might have seen her posts come up, her reels or videos or whatnot on Facebook or Instagram if you're on there. But she has a really great podcast. I listened to a few really good ones. She has, let's see, I can't even find the one there's just so many different ones that were so good. She had another mom on there who also has, it's right here, How to Keep Your House While Drowning. And that really made a difference for me. I think, let me click and see if I can get the name of that mom on here. She is another therapist. Her name is Casey Davis. She has a TikTok that's really great and fun to follow. But I believe it's ADHD that she also has, but she's just not neurotypical. And so she doesn't do things the typical way. She's made things work for her. She has a family closet, so instead of having to spend the time sorting all the clothes and putting it in different places, she does a family one. I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. And she talks about how I struggle with routines, and she talked about how for her patterns work better because routines are typically tied into time and things like that, which I struggle with, whereas patterns are more like you can start at any time. It's just a series of things you do kind of in a row or whatnot. So that was really helpful and freeing to know like there are other options. There's so many just different great ones. I have said before, I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown, and she has 2 podcasts. She has, if you're someone who's in a leadership space or wanting to learn more about leadership, find it fascinating for whatever reason, she has a podcast, Dare to Lead with Brene Brown. And then she has one that's more about relationships and things. That's Unlocking Us with Brene Brown. Again, both on Spotify. Mel Robbins launched her podcast. I love Mel. I would say she's the closest one, like how she does things. Her last episode she released when she was sick. And that was one of the things that motivated me today of like, just show up. And she talked about letting go. And so I continually am using the tools that she puts out there. She calls it putting herself in pause. And just letting go. So that's been really helpful for me. Highly suggest that one. The Brendan Show is a good one. He's definitely more if you're looking into coaching, you need someone to kind of push you and things like that. That's going to be Brendan. He is extremely upbeat and fun. He's been doing high performance coaching at least for the last decade. And his coaching program is one of the ones that I went through that helped me launch this podcast. So special place in my heart for sure. And let's see, there's some smaller ones. So if you're just getting started and you only have 5 minutes, New Mindset, Who Dis by Cass Kinney. I haven't caught up on this one, but it was really helpful because I think these ones are only 17 minutes or so. They're shorter, so if you're looking for something like that works. I'm a huge fan of the Man Enough podcast. I think it's great no matter if you're a man or a woman. Obviously I listen to it too, but they have some amazing just topics on there. They get real and it's fun. And I just really suggest that one. And then if you're looking into, again, like more maybe business side of it or, upbeat, motivational things, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or something like that, Gary Vee has the Gary Vee audio experience. He also does tons of posts on all different things of social media. So it just really depends on where you want to catch him. But if you're in the podcast space, he has ones that are shorter, longer, but lots of different topics on there. And they can be really helpful too. And some of his comes with the video if you would rather consume it that way. I don't know if his is on YouTube or not, but I know for sure that the Man Enough podcast and the Mel Robbins one are on YouTube, and I found them to be incredibly helpful. So I'm going to keep this short. It's already longer than what I thought. So I am going to try really hard not to listen to the beginning and the ramblings. I hope it makes sense. I hope that you've stayed tuned. And if you have, thank you so much. I will put the names and possibly the links in the description of the podcast that I've listed. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you're staying healthy. And if not, I hope you are being kind and gentle with yourselves and the people around you. And you take the time to be kind to yourself, listen to your body, and get healthy again. Much love.